معالي وزير التعليم العالي والبحث العلمي سيد الدكتور أشرف الشيخ, esteemed fellow presidents and representatives of the great universities of Egypt and far beyond, dear members of the global community of our great university, Chairman Richard Bartlett, Vice Chairman Mu'taz Al-Alfi, our dedicated Board of Trustees and spouses, my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Amr Salama, Dr. Mohammed Naguib Abu Zaid, inspirational predecessors, Interim President Tom Thomason, President Lisa Anderson, President David Arnold, and twice President Tom Bartlett, dedicated faculty and staff, loving alumni, our heroically sacrificing parents, our beloved, bright, ambitious students, سيداتي والسادة الكرام, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني ويشرفني حضوركم في هذه المناسبة السعيدة. What a very special privilege it is to stand with you today as the 12th president of the American University in Cairo. It's a thrill for Maria and me to return to Umm El Donia, Cairo, the great mother of the world, for another chapter in our lives in these exciting times. Yes, we all recognize that these are also challenging, stressful, and even painful times for all of humanity. But we have returned precisely because today, Al-Qahira, the city victorious, is the crucible of such energy and promise, both for our truly unique university and for our truly wonderful host country. The American University in Cairo beckoned us back to Egypt to join in its most noble and important of human endeavors, the education of our rising generation of scientists, artists, builders, entrepreneurs, and other creators, teachers, public servants, and leaders in all fields. Today, I would like to take up the conversation with you about how, together, we can best advance our high purpose. And to prepare to take up the university's mission of service, I've been consulting widely among all of you, all of our stakeholders. Besides the trustees, the faculty, staff, parents, and students, alumni, and other generous patrons, I've spoken with each of my living predecessors. Thank you again, Presidents Anderson, Arnold, Bartlett, and Interim President Thomason, for honoring us with your presence here today. I will strive to build on your great advances for our beloved university. And from all of our diverse perspectives, I've drawn insights about both our solid assets and our serious challenges. I see these falling into three areas of focus: our university's identity, our continuity, and excellence. We can take great pride in each of these characteristics of ours, but we can take none of them for granted. Our identity as Egypt's global university is our most distinguishing asset and our greatest competitive edge. For nearly a century, we have served as the premier portal to the world for Egyptians and for others in her region for a world-standard, inquiry-based liberal arts education in English. Thanks to rigorous American and Egyptian national certification processes, the validity of our degrees and professional certificates has stood beyond question in Egypt, in the United States, and around the world. But our global identity and our competitive distinction also have rested on the fact that the American University in Cairo has powerfully attracted the world to come to Egypt. We've always been a two-way portal, facilitating the exchange both to and from Egypt of people, their knowledge, and ideas. We bring Americans and other nationalities, often including Egyptian Americans, back to Egypt. even as we enable our graduates to thrive and to compete in any field, anywhere in the world. Thus, we've always been in the business of brain gain for Egypt and for her region, standing against the global forces of brain drain. But we must recognize painful realities. Since the political turmoil of this region broke out in 2011, Egypt has suffered sharp declines in foreign visitors for all purposes, from tourism to business to science and the arts. We in higher education have not been immune. Nonetheless, there are grounds for hope. I'm very pleased to report that as stability and security have begun to return over these past several years, the numbers of our international students and staff also have begun to revive. To sustain our identity as Egypt's global university, we must build this positive momentum. We must bring back to Egypt at least the levels of international faculty, staff, and students that we enjoyed before 2011. So I ask our Egyptian alumni in particular to join our faculty, our staff, our parents, and our students in reaffirming to foreign counterparts Egypt's traditional warm welcome to join us at our beautiful university. There can be no denying that the global forces of hate, fear, bigotry, fanaticism, and other belligerent forms of ignorance do still pose disruptive threats to established societies operating under the rule of law. Egyptians, no less than citizens of other peaceful and orderly societies, are demanding the highest modern standards of education as the most vitally necessary measure not merely to defeat terrorism, but also to sustain prosperous, dignified lives for all citizens. I'll return later to say more about our global identity, but let me cite two other priority objectives we must advance in order to live up to our mission of teaching, research, learning, and service. I would cite the most famously characteristic element of Egypt's identity, her millennial durability, her resilience in the face of all the vicissitudes of time. Few other civilizations have demonstrated such amazing intergenerational continuity of identity from the dawn of humankind through the present. The American University in Cairo likewise has proven resilient. We have sustained our service to Egypt. We have stood with her for nearly a century through the severest tests of foreign wars, domestic revolutions, and global economic crises. We can take due encouragement from this history, but we can never remain complacent. Sustaining the intergenerational compact is the great challenge of all American not-for-profit institutions of higher education. Our university certainly is healthy, but we are not wealthy. Today's students, faculty, and staff depend primarily on the sacrifices of the parents of our students. For the majority of our families, AUC's tuition and fees represent a heavy burden. But we also depend on the generosity and vision of past and present donors from around the world. Around our beautiful campus, you will see on our buildings the names of just a few of these patrons. Stop and chat with our students and faculty, and you will encounter some who proudly acknowledge their named scholarships or professorship chairs. Whether as individuals or as institutions, Egyptian or international, Egypt's severe economic stresses, especially inflation, impact us all without exception. The foreign exchange crunch also only adds further to our costs of operations. Also, if unresolved, it threatens our long-term continuity and quality. Such external economic pressures on all in Egypt lie beyond our remedy. But for our own sustainability, to uphold our obligations to the coming generations of students and their parents, we must strengthen our community's culture of service and of giving. We must demonstrate the most prudent stewardship of all our current resources, human and fiscal. A third strategic focus runs strongly among us. That is excellence in all that we undertake. The AUC diploma and professional certificates must continue to stand above all for excellence. They must continue to certify the highest achievement on multiple levels. For our prospective students, faculty, and staff, the highest global standards in our research, teaching, and the daily experience here on campus. For our parents and donors, they must certify the assurance that your investments in our rising generation are well worth your financial sacrifices. And for our alumni, durable, unquestionable documentation of the highest levels of personal discipline, dedication, integrity, and all-round academic and personal achievement in a challenging, inquiry-based liberal arts education. And for broader society, including future employers, our certificates must offer the assurance that our graduates bring with them the highest capabilities in the skills necessary for lifelong learning in a dynamic world, a world that has professions and services and industries that do not yet even exist. In fact, future industries that our graduates will help to imagine. Excellence is by definition rare. It means standing above and beyond the norm. Excellence is not elitism, and it's not snobbery. But it does require exceptional people making truly exceptional effort, backed by unusually supportive families, institutions, and visionary sponsors. Excellence is costly by any measure, and not only in dollars and pounds, but also in hours of study and rigorous commitment to the highest values of integrity and discipline. It requires the sacrifice of distracting pleasures of the moment in favor of sustained focus on long-term goals. There can be no caps on excellence, nor on the inevitable fiscal and personal sacrifices of those individuals, families, and institutions who are dedicated to achieving it. Let me speak some more about us, our identity, and excellence and sustaining it. In the United States, the best companies and not-for-profit public service institutions like ours define themselves through our purposes, that is, the human needs that we seek to meet and the means we use to pursue them. So we ask our prospective students not, what do you want to be, but rather, what problems do you want to solve? How do you wish to serve your country and your fellow woman and man? Their answers shape their courses of study and the co-curricular experiences intended to unleash them on the most compelling problems of our times, besides the problems of their own livelihoods and lifestyles. Whatever their individual or larger purposes, we aim to help passionate, ambitious students find the excellent science-based tools for lifelong learning which they will need to succeed in approaching any problem now and in future. The overarching problem which we at the American University in Cairo are striving to solve is the case of higher education itself. In the United States, as in Egypt, our industry is under disruptive stress. In the face of escalating costs, parents, students, and their prospective employers are questioning the value of the traditional four-year coming-of-age experience in the liberal arts. Such valid questioning is driving innovation rather than defensive reaction at the best universities. Hence, we are experimenting with new methods of delivering the different learning experiences required by students at different stages in their lives. We and our peer universities in the United States are refocusing our teaching methodologies and curricula on the student rather than on the teacher, and on measuring the acquisition of competencies rather than on measuring time present in the classroom. And We are reaching out to our community to better align our educational services to constantly evolving real-world needs, including business and public service needs. We aim to send our graduates into the world fully equipped for a lifetime of learning and impactful service, many of them in professional capacities, as I've mentioned, that do not yet exist. So that is the real value of our liberal arts approach. That is, training for broader intellectual skill sets in what we call in English the 4 C's. First, critical thinking, the secret sauce of scientific advancement, and rigorous and free inquiry-based education. Second, communication, and in the world language of English. Third, collaboration, working together within diverse, multidisciplinary teams. Fourth, creativity, which is the indispensable ingredient for innovation. I invite our visitors to campus to speak with any of our students, faculty, staff, and ask us which problem each of us is most dedicated to solving. Let me know just a few of some of the impressive problems that we are tackling together through research and teaching of lifelong learning skills. And in all of these, we are increasing our collaboration with our host nation university colleagues. Again, thank you for joining us today, with officials of our host nation, and with members of the private sector of our host nation. And we depend on the support of so many of our community members who are present with us today. To mention just a few of the problems we want to solve, which shape our identity. In the problems of global public health, from the development of advanced diagnostic for hepatitis C, to genetics-based targeting of chemotherapy against cancer, to the applications of nanotechnology and toxicology. Particularly in our School of Science and Technology, we're working on the problems of global public health. We're honored to join the government of Egypt in addressing the problems of education from primary school upwards in this country and across the region. And I ask my fellow presidents of Egyptian universities for the privilege of visiting with you so that together we may advance our collaboration in the great mission we share. Thank you again, Minister El-Shehi and colleagues, for hosting the recent launch of the Egypt Knowledge Bank project, led by President El-Sisi's chairman of the Council of Educational Advisors and our own former Dean, Tariq Shawki, who's with us today. Our Graduate School of Education and schools of continuing education in science and technology are directly contributing to this exemplary public-private partnership of the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. Our School of Global Affairs and Public Policy seeks to solve the problems of modern governance and public policy development across this region, which is undergoing such violent conflict and stressful change, a region whose states are struggling to compete in a global marketplace not only of commerce but also of ideas. Our School of Humanities and Social Sciences seeks to solve the problem of sustaining human dignity, communication, and the creation of beauty in a world region particularly afflicted by violent conflict, oppression, and brutality. Our arts and music programs are opening up to enrich the quality of life of all in New Cairo. Our schools and such cross-disciplinary initiatives as our Research Institute for a Sustainable Environment partner with Egyptian industry and global industry to solve the most critical problems of sustainability of humankind in a rapidly urbanizing global environment. Our Neighborhood Initiative is only one such portal through which our university collaborates with, serves, and learns from our vibrant, gigantic host city. Our School of Business and others partner with industry to equip our students with the skills to innovate, to promote entrepreneurship, to grow our economy, and to solve the problems of poverty and inadequate economic opportunity for all in a fiercely competitive and dynamic world where change is inevitable, but progress is not. We also take great pride and we benefit from our characteristic whole of community approach to problem solving. So well beyond academics, let me recognize, for example, the dedication of our Parents Association to solving truly vital health and safety problems for our whole community by initiating campaigns against smoking and for traffic safety. Thank you, parents, for doing that. Also less seen and less often appreciated are the enthusiasm and selflessness that I've witnessed among our students through their service clubs. Over a dozen of them dedicated to the service of the poor, the elderly, street children, and others in need, solving problems of poverty, inequality, deprivation, all kinds of problems of human suffering. The students of so many different academic majors have told me that of all their experiences at our university, their community service has had the most transformative impact on their own characters and their learning. So let me thank again the high officials of our host government of Egypt, my distinguished brother and sister university presidents, for honoring our global community of the American University in Cairo today. Our diverse community constituencies form a truly venerable global institution, yet fully at home in Egypt. Together, we are committed to passing the American University in Cairo on to future generations even stronger than we have found it, revitalizing its strong legacy and its culture of giving, of service, and of excellence. Thank you to all our community for your strong support and for your very warm welcome on our return to Egypt. السادة الكرام يشرفني الحضور النهارده. شكرا جزيلا لكلكم. Thank you so much for coming. I'm very honored to stand with you today.